Welcome to the Hockey Writers Flames Faceoff, a weekly show with our top Calgary Flames writing crew, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from draft day to the trade deadline, our team covers everything that happens with the Flaming Sea. So get set, get focused. It's time for the Flames Faceoff. Flames Faceoff.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Quinney, and this is the Flames Faceoff, brought to you by the Hockey Writers. We're a regular YouTube show where we bring together some of the best writers we have in the Calgary Flames writing pool, and we discuss all things Flames. Now, to make sure you don't miss an episode, what you can do is you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, give us a like on YouTube and Facebook, and be sure to share this with your fellow Calgary Flames fans. And you can now catch us as a podcast. And the easiest way to do that is go to the Hockey Writers Podcast Network and download us on iHeartRadio, or in fact, any of your favorite platforms will be available. And do make sure to check out some of the great hockey content that we have here at thehockeywriters.com. So with that, let's get going. I'd like to introduce the panel. We have with us Mr. Colton Pankiw. Colton, welcome.
Yeah, hey Paul. It's been quite a while. Nice to be back on with you guys and talk some Flames hockey.
Yeah, it's great to have you back, and I'm glad to hear that move went well for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Brett Krauss. Brett, good to see you.
Yes, and good to be back as well. It's been a while for all of us, so we got lots to talk about today.
Well, you know what? Everybody, including this panel, deserves a bit of a summer break, but now that's done, we're back. So looking forward to talking Flames hockey with you guys, in particular, getting the viewpoint of Mr. Greg Tysowski. Welcome, Greg.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Really good. How's the golf going?
Well, I can't golf. I can't play hockey. I can't do anything because 2 weeks ago I had a nearly catastrophic groin injury playing beer league hockey. And I defy you guys to top this injury. I wasn't doing anything heroic like saving the game. It was on a line change. I tripped coming off the player's bench and I fell down immediately and pulled my groin so badly that I had to go to physio, and there's ultrasounds, and it's torn, and I could be gone for 4 to 6 weeks on the IR. So I'm not happy because I'm missing beer league. I'm missing the tail end of a very short golf season. So all in all, this is all I got looking forward to is this show. So I'm glad we're back.
Greg, you've got to revise that story, man. I mean, I'm still holding out hope for you for a PTO. You know, don't give up hope on that. But you can't be spreading that stuff around. How you got hurt?
I'm fragile. I'm a fragile player. Sorry.
All right. Well, with that, let's get right to it. We want to start off with what the Flames are looking like. Essentially, my opinion, they're heading into the season with basically the same old team. There have been a few changes, but there certainly has not been the shakeup that a lot of Calgary Flames fans were demanding. And what I'd like to get your take on, gentlemen, is why we didn't see major changes this summer. And can we really expect better results this year? There have been some changes, but basically, I hear people talking about the Flames being in win now mode. And I'd argue that not enough has changed to make them a winner. Colton, what's your take on that? What happened this summer? Why wasn't there the big shakeup?
Yeah, I think it's disappointing to a lot of the fans. You see that there wasn't one. I think, like Treliving said in an interview recently, you got to keep in mind, like it's tough to make those big changes. I think he genuinely wanted to, and was looking to shake things up. But I think there's a lot of things that factor into it. I mean, he had said like, the media, writes those stories about trade this player for this player, and it's not really that easy. None of us know what it takes to be an NHL GM. Like, he doesn't have an easy job by any means. So I think there's a lot of things that play into it, even just the market. Like, there's more attractable markets out there for players to want to go to. So that makes it a bit tougher too. As far as the team being in win now mode, I do think they'll be better this season. I think just being in a weaker division will help out with that. As far as win now mode, do I see this team as one that could contend for a Stanley Cup? No, I don't. I think there had to have been more changes in the offseason. So I don't blame Treliving. I think he's in a tough spot, but I don't see this team as a contender right now.
Greg, your thoughts on that? Should Calgary Flames have higher expectations given the changes, or about the same as last year?
Well, I think I agree with Colton in the thesis that they will be better than last year. And as for like not being able to make big changes, I remember I think one of the things that Brad Treliving said in his presser was saying that, the fans have to realize that this isn't like fantasy hockey. You can't just make deals,
right,
that you want to make. Like, you have to have a willing dance partner. And obviously the Flames couldn't find that willing dance partner. And as for how they're going to, do with basically the same team, is that when they hired Darryl Sutter last year in the middle of the season, they were hoping that he could just kind of do what he does, and that's take an underperforming team and turn it around with Sutter hockey. You always hear that Sutter hockey, Sutter style hockey. And I think Brad Treliving is going all in on this Sutter hockey mantra, because Darryl's going to have a full training camp. He didn't have that last year. He wasn't even there. He's going to have more practice time. He's going to have an 82 game schedule. And so if Darryl Sutter can't make it work with this roster, I think this might be the last chance, for Brad Treliving and this core. So I think the Flames will do better. And it's possible that Darryl does what he does. And like we also had happened in Los Angeles, like that team wasn't, jam-packed with great, superstars. They had a good goalie. They had a couple of good players, but he kind of got the most out of that roster. And I think that's what they're hoping to do again this year, is can he get the most out of this, mostly kind of mediocre roster. So I guess time will tell. Yeah.
No, you and Colton mentioned, some of Treliving's, I guess, well, not really excuses. That sounds pejorative, but his explanation for why he couldn't make the shakeup this summer, and one of them, of course, was Canada. A land of high taxes, cold winters, et cetera, et cetera. But the interesting thing, in my beer league hockey group, I play with a guy from. He spent some time down in Plano, Texas, not sure how to pronounce it. And that's the home of none other than Mr. Coleman. So he was speaking with his mother, and he was asking, well, how did Blake end up in Calgary? And she said, well, look, he had offers from the Leafs, Canadians, and a number of other franchises, and he chose Calgary. So, hats off to Calgary. I guess it is a more desirable place than a lot of people give it credit for. So I just thought that was interesting. It is a town that's capable of attracting good players, and we've seen that with Blake Coleman. Greg or Brett, what's your take on this summer? I mean, should we expect anything different this year with essentially the same mediocre group, as Greg puts it?
I have no expectations going into the season, because I think they're just kind of spinning their tires once again. But I think, like Colton and Greg said, Treliving was, I think, trying to do something. And one of the interviews, you could kind of hear the frustration in his voice, saying how fans want him to make a deal, but if there's no deal to be made, he can't make a trade. So I think you just kind of hear, like, he's probably been, hearing some of the things from media and fans on, social media, and it's just kind of frustration that he's, trying to do something. And, you see so many people on Twitter saying that he's not doing anything once again this summer, but maybe it's just not the right trade, or there is no trade. So, the whole Eichel thing, they were rumored to be in it, and it might have just been too much, and which is kind of my theory, is that they were going to have too many holes in the lineup after, if they had landed Eichel with, the proposed trade deal that Buffalo wanted. So, I think it's unfortunate, but we're just, going to have to roll with what they got and see what they can do. But I think it's definitely all Sutter hockey from here on out.
Yeah. No, I too have some sympathy for Treliving. He, the fact is, trades are tough to make in this flat cap era. And then the trade assets that Calgary has, they probably diminished in value, given the performance of guys like Tkachuk. He had a dismal year, and Monahan and Gaudreau were shadows of what they were in previous years. So yeah, sure, it would be hard to make a trade. Wanted to switch gears here, though. Speaking of changes in the roster, this show's never shied away from controversy, and we're not about to start now. So I wanted to get the shocking news that was put out there a few weeks ago. There was a poll done, and Harvey the Hound, the Flames mascot, was ranked the second worst mascot in the NHL, if you can believe that. And Greg, I'm going to tap you here on this one to get us started, because you wrote a hard-hitting piece. Flames Harvey the Hound has beef after being ranked second worst mascot, was the title of the article. And you offered a very robust defense of Calgary's top dog. And so why is it exactly? Maybe you can recap that article. Why do you think he was so unfairly maligned?
Well, I thought this poll was absolute garbage, and I think anyone with a brain would see that. The methodology was terrible. Like, they kind of had one passing line in this article saying it was 2,000 respondents over all 31 markets or something like that in the NHL. But I found that very hard to believe, because just look who was number one. Like Colton the Bear. Like I've never even heard of the Leafs mascot before this stupid poll, and he looks very bland. I can't see how most of the Canadian teams were ranked in the bottom 5 or 6. Like, that says to me that this was a very Toronto-centric poll, that a lot of idiot Leafs fans, sorry Leafs fans, but put all the Canadian ones at the bottom, especially Harvey. And my defense of Harvey is not only just because I'm a Flames fan and like a Calgarian, but it's based on fact. Like, Harvey the Hound was the original NHL mascot. He was the first one in the league back in the mid 80s. Like, the guy just knocked on the Flames door and said, "Hey, do you want a mascot?" And they said, "Well, we'll give you a 1-game tryout." And according to the article I read, it didn't even go that well. Like, the fans were like booing him and telling him to get out of there. But Flames management liked him, and all these years later, I think if there was a Hall of Fame for NHL mascots, he would be the number 1 inductee, Harvey the Hound, because he was the original. He was the OG. He was, the first of the first. So maybe fans across the North America don't know this about Harvey the Hound, but it was my job to educate all of the dullards out there who didn't know what they were talking about. So I'm sorry, I get worked up about this. Harvey the Hound deserved much, much better. Much better.
All right. Well, we may have to edit some of that, but great stuff, Greg. Glad to see you took the gloves off there. I'm going to ping Colton here and maybe push back a little bit. He was also ranked as one of the most obnoxious mascots in the league. So there's 2 knocks against him. Not only that, but among mascots, as Greg pointed out, with Canadian teams, Harvey was ranked dead last as the most unpopular mascot in all of Canada. So he's clearly hurting national unity and further contributing to Western alienation. What do you think, Colton? Should Treliving fire the dog?
No, I don't think Harvey should go anywhere. I can say going to a lot of Oilers games over the years, I think he's a far better mascot than Oilers guy's name Hunter. I think like he's a lot better than that. Like Greg said, I'm curious where these 2,000 people really were from, because I hadn't heard of the Leafs guy either. I think if you're asking fans who the favorite mascot is, I think number one would probably be Gritty, just on recognition alone. So the fact that he's not on right at the top of that list, I think kind of tells you everything. I think maybe these 2,000 people might have been located in or right around Toronto. So I don't take too much. I don't take it too seriously.
Brett, what's your take on this? And the Leafs Carlton the Bear apparently is now he, as Greg pointed out, was a top-ranked mascot in the league, but he becomes an RFA next year. So I'm just wondering, what's your take? Could the Flames snag him, and could he keep the Bear shtick going in Calgary, but just don the flaming C?
No, I think that's he's a do not sign mascot. I think dogs are better than bears. A lot of dog haters in this poll, obviously. So, I mean, besides Harvey the Hound, I don't even think I could tell you any of the Canadian teams' mascots beside the dollar store version of Gritty in Montreal, or the rip-off of the Philadelphia Phillies mascot. So, I think to be ranked second last, I would, challenge many fans to even name all 32 mascots, or 31. I'm not sure if Seattle has one yet, but it's
well, I don't know. I think there's good chance changes are coming. Flames management has been silent, and I think that's deafening in terms of its indictment of Harvey. They haven't come to his defense. Harvey's agent has not offered any comment on this. So I'm wondering if there's big changes afoot here in the Calgary Flames mascot department. We're going to see. But enough of that. I'm sure we'll be getting a lot of hate mail after this segment. Oh well. Just wanted to switch gears here now. Actually, a bit of a downer, but I'll bring it up anyway. There's a game tonight with Calgary and Edmonton, and it'll be a full house. And from what I understand, fans will have to present proof of full vaccination. And that actually goes well beyond what the government of Alberta is requiring for public places. But nevertheless, there's some real concerns that, with a full house in the current circumstances where the fourth wave is in Alberta, that the game tonight with that many people, albeit they're wearing masks, could be a significant spreader event. And I'm just wondering, from a corporate social responsibility standpoint, whether the Flames, and for that matter, Edmonton, should be rethinking the game tonight. They are within the rules, absolutely. There are no limits on attendance, but I don't know, in some circumstances, just because the rules allow it doesn't mean from a business standpoint it's a good idea. Greg, what's your take on that? Any thoughts on the COVID situation and tonight's game?
Well, it's funny because I think there are other markets in Canada which have a much better COVID situation than Alberta that are actually reducing their capacity. And I thought if there was going to be one kind of place in Canada that might have reduced capacities, it would be Calgary, and Edmonton, because Alberta is still on fire right now with the amount of ICU admissions and hospital admissions. Like, things are bad here. And it's kind of based on a lot of polls that I've seen, the general public, I don't think, has a big problem with restrictions when things are this bad. This vaccine passport that was introduced recently, had some pretty good support. There's still a few people out there who are very angry about it, but I think the majority is okay with it. And I share season tickets to the Flames. And we recently did our draft for picking the games. I was trying to pick as many games in the latter half of the season as possible, just to kind of stay away from the Dome for the first few months, because it's still kind of, I know you have to show proof of vaccination, but it's still kind of a scary situation. So like, I'm surprised that they're at full capacity, but this is Alberta, so nothing really surprises me when it comes to the COVID response in this province. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out and see if it becomes any kind of super spreader event, or maybe it's all overblown with the risks. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll have to find out.
Yeah. Colton, if you were team ownership or senior management, would you have taken this game on tonight with full capacity, given what's going on out there, as Greg's explained with COVID?
Yeah, it's so tough. I mean, you like that they're doing the proof of vaccination. Obviously, that keeps things safer. And I mean, they say that they're going to comply with all these rules and have people, but I mean, with that many people in the building, like I'm curious to see how they monitor it. I think it's tough to really kind of make sure everyone's spread out, and like there's people you're going to be sitting beside people. I think it's going to be really tough. So I mean, we could go on and on about these restrictions and how some make sense, and it seems like they're kind of back and forth all the time. And because I mean, right now you're not really supposed to be gathering with I think just one additional family in your household, yet you could meet up with 16,000 at a Flames game. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a whole different conversation. I don't want to get into that too much, but yeah, I'm quite surprised they haven't changed the capacity limits yet, and I think they still will, personally, and maybe not for tonight, but I can't really see them just once the season begins going 100%. And like I said, I would love for that to happen. I don't think it can right now.
Yeah. Brett, what's your take? Do the Flames and the Oilers risk some public relations blowback on this by offering the game with full attendance?
I believe Rick Westhead from TSN just put out an article interviewing a bunch of doctors from Calgary and Edmonton. And if I've learned anything this summer, it's if Rick Westhead is writing about you in sports, it's not usually a good look if you just look at the Chicago Blackhawks. So, yeah, it just seems like doctors are, pretty upset that they're going to go with full capacity. And I mean, rightly so. They're the ones that are in the hospitals dealing with the basically capacity of ICUs and, running out of beds and working, who knows, 12, 14, 16-hour days to try and keep up. So I think it's absolutely a black eye on the organization, because they even said that if the government isn't going to do it, ownership should, kind of take the lead on this one, because they said, the players are out in the communities kind of being leaders in the community. And so this is another moment in time where they should be a leader in the community and kind of, will have limited capacity, even if the government just kind of continues to sit on their hands.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a bad, I'm watching the situation in Alberta from Ontario here, and it's, it's a worrying situation. You hate to see any part of the country going through that, and just pray that Alberta gets a break, in terms of the spread, and also some help. I see the federal government, the Army's coming in to shore up the hospitals, and I'm told actually that there are patients coming to or being flown into Ontario. That's terrible for the families, but hopefully it'll save a few lives. Want to switch gears here to sweater ads. They're coming in the 2022-23 season. And I guess the Board of Governors unanimously approved the ads on sweaters starting the season after this one. And they can be as large as a 3 by 3.5 inch. I'm not clear how many are allowed on a sweater. But this year the teams added helmet ads, and reportedly helmet ads generated over $100 million in total revenue for the league. And the Washington Capitals, with a lot of fanfare, announced that they'd signed a deal with Caesars SportsLink, which is an online gambling site. So what do you think, gentlemen? Do you think NHL fans are going to be happy with the ads? Personally, I hate them. Team logos for me mean something, and at least here in Canada. And could they become so large and so numerous that you get the grotesque sweaters, and grotesque, in my opinion, that you see in Europe? Colton, what's your thought? Is this has the horse been let out of the corral here, and we're going to see a lot more of it? Or what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the fans' reaction?
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think it is just one ad that they put. Yeah. So I mean, I think there was quite a bit of. I think some people were kind of upset too when they announced the helmet thing last year, and then I don't know if I really didn't realize it. I mean, you'd kind of see if they were sitting on the bench and turned to the side or whatever, but it didn't take away anything from me. And like you said, I don't want it to be like if you're watching the Spangler Cup or something like that and the jerseys are just covered. I don't think they're planning on ever going to that. I think you see like the helmet ads, like it made them a lot of money. And I think the league obviously suffered a big loss with the pandemic in the last year. So I think just to try and get some money back. And I think if it's just one ad, I don't really think that we'll notice it a whole ton. So I don't really have too big of an issue with it. Having said that, again, like I said, if they were to do a bunch more, then that's where it would get out of hand. But I think just having the single one and making some money back, I'm not too upset about it.
Mm-hmm. Greg, what are your thoughts on it? Could we see the fan base pushing back on this? And if they did, would it really matter? I mean, we're talking a lot of money here potentially.
Yeah, well, I always find that the NHL kind of takes their lead sometimes from the NBA because they have like a similar kind of schedule. They share a lot of buildings, and they kind of like they're kind of, to me, comparable leagues in some ways. And the NBA has had ads, small ones on their jersey, for the last couple of years, I believe. And I don't really think there's been a huge blowback or huge, fan revolt. My only question is to you guys, and I thought I read something about this, but maybe I'm wrong, is that these ads, like they're part of the jersey. So like next season, if you go into the Saddle Dome to a fan attic and you buy like your favorite player's jersey, it's going to have the ad on it. I think is that the case, or am I wrong? I thought I read that somewhere. And if that's the case, that even if the ads have to be on these jerseys for the ones that you buy to wear like to a game, or it's part of your personal collection, I find that a little off-putting that the ad would be on those versions of it. But I thought I read somewhere that's part of the deal the NHL is making with these sponsors, that these ads would be part of those jerseys. So to me, that's kind of, like I said, a little off-putting to have like an ad on a jersey that you buy that you wear to a game. But as long as they don't go crazy, like the Premier League in soccer in Europe, like the sponsor is the biggest thing on that jersey. Like they might have a little logo on the corner of their like chest, but like Fly Emirates, Emirate Air, is like that's the biggest thing on the jersey. And I'm just hoping that as the years go on, the NHL doesn't make them kind of too large, too intrusive. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. It is weird, but I guess it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, actually, a good question, Greg. I'll throw that out there. Are we going to see the logo on sweaters that I go in and buy for my kids or myself? I haven't heard.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say yes, because I have a Toronto Raptors jersey which has an ad on it. I believe it's Sun Life Financial. So I'm gonna go with probably yes. I'm assuming that's part of the deal and probably gets the owners more money in the deal if it's on the jerseys that fans are also buying.
Yeah. Well, I just hope it doesn't get as bad as NASCAR, for example. I mean, it's grotesque with NASCAR. The drivers now in interviews are coached to mention the sponsor in every sentence, and I'm just, I've got visions of post-game interviews with Darryl Sutter where he's speaking, for example, about Jacob Markstrom and saying Marky was hot tonight, as hot as a clean burning natural gas fire, brought to you by NMAX Energy. I just hope we don't go there. And the other thing that drives me crazy is, when I look at European rinks, there's so many ads on it. You can hardly see the puck. It's a huge distraction. So, but that said, I'm assuming that the NHL is a pretty slick marketing organization, and they would pick that up in their marketing research and just stop, an inch shy of where advertising gets to be an irritant. Anyway, that's my hope. Just wanted to close off, gentlemen, very quickly on what impact Darryl Sutter could make if he has, as he does this year, a full year as coach. Is he? He did come in last year at a bit of a disadvantage, coming in halfway through a shortened season. What's going to be the impact of him starting right out from training camp and going right through the season? Colton, I'll start with you. Is that a plus, minus, or irrelevant?
No, it's certainly a plus. I think you want to have your coach that's going to be behind the bench, the one running training camp. I think removing them bringing them in halfway through, you always hear about this, especially since he's come in, this Sutter style hockey, and it's tough for them to play it last year just because they didn't really have any time, and obviously a condensed schedule too, so not even really a ton of practice time. So I think we will see some changes this year in how they play. I think they're going to be really tough team defensively and just a pain to play against. I think that's something that they were lacking at times last year. We'd spoke on it, almost seemed like that there wasn't a lot of passion in their game, or that they were just kind of lackadaisical at times. I think that'll really be cleaned up under him. I think he'll bring a lot of accountability. So I think, I think they'll be a pretty good defensive team, and just one that's a lot tougher to play against than last year.
Yeah. Greg, am I reading too much into this? Will it make a difference with Sutter being there right from the get-go this year?
I think it will. He was brought in for this very reason, and because I think Treliving thought he had a pretty decent group of guys, but they just weren't maybe motivated enough. Maybe they weren't accountable enough. Maybe they weren't, maybe they weren't responding to Jeff Ward as they maybe should have been. So, and I know that Jeff Ward was kind of this guy who was former teacher and he's kind of more of a player's coach, and I think the guys liked him, and I don't know if the guys are like Darryl Sutter, and I don't think they really have to. I think they know what his reputation is, and even when guys speak about him in past interviews, they always kind of say it's like, they learned a lot under him, and like they kind of go on and on about his coaching style and how it breeds accountability in a team, but no one ever talks about how warm and fuzzy he is, so it's like, or that kind of stuff. So I don't think the players have to like Darryl Sutter. I think they just have to play for him like their job depends on it, and like their ice time depends on it. And I think this team might need a little of that, to kind of a little scared of their job, scared of where they are in the lineup, maybe they get bumped down to the third line, fourth line. Like, I think this team needs that, because I think there's enough talent to be competitive. They just needed a coach to kind of bring that out of them. And I think having Darryl for a full season is going to make a big difference, but will it be enough to make them a contender? Ultimately, no, I don't think so. But I'm expecting a better season from these guys. Just the fact that we have a full year of Darryl Sutter behind the bench.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Adam Proteau of the Hockey Writers said Sutter's one of the 5 coaches in the NHL who's in the hot seat. And I think, Colton, you wrote an article a while back basically saying the same thing. But Brett, what's your take? If the Flames stumble out of the gate, would Sutter's job be on the line, or would that lead to some big trades, or is it really Treliving's job that's on the line? What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can fire Sutter this year or even next year, because it's kind of then what was the point of bringing back Darryl Sutter? I think if they're stumbling out of the gate and continue to stumble through Christmas, you got to take a long, hard look in the mirror, and you have to decide right now whether you're going to make that trade for a Jack Eichel or if you're going to blow it all up, because I think these next couple of years are supposed to be some fairly strong drafts. And if you kind of look at what Arizona is doing and collecting a ton of draft picks right now, because supposedly the 22 and 3 are supposed to be deep drafts. I think if, come January and the Flames are nowhere near a playoff spot, you have to make a decision right now. There's no more retooling and, kind of fixing holes with some, duct tape kind of style management. I think you got to either blow it up or do whatever it takes to make that big trade that might get you over the hump. But I think everybody's job is on the line if they're stumbling. Sutter might stay on as coach for now, but it's hard to say. I'm not even really sure who's over Treliving's head other than ownership, and I don't really know what their thoughts are on Treliving right now. So it's hard to say if what happens to his job, but I think if they gotta have a good start this season.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but that was a great discussion, and it was great to have everybody back. And thanks everybody for joining us for another episode of Flames Faceoff. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another edition. And in the meantime, do be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and follow us. Share this video with your fellow Flames fans, and be sure to check out some of the great hockey content that we have here at thehockeywriters.com. We'll see you soon.